Okay, let's get this front lens component lubricated so that it rotates smoothly. Just remove it again. Here I have some grease designed for doing lens helicals, and I'll just put a few spots around the outside of the rim of that. It's one continuous thread, it's not a multi-start thread, is it? Just put out a couple of spots on there, that's all that's required. That just makes the action, the focus adjustment smooth. Adds a little bit of resistance to it, which is useful because it stops the focus from being from moving wildly if you just brushed it with your finger while you're busy taking a photo. You need a little bit of resistance there, you don't need much. So I'm going to check the focus at the film plane, so I'll go away and do that, and then we'll come back. Once I've set the focus correctly at the film plane, I will see if it matches the focus at the in the viewfinder. The two of course should match. If they don't, there are two possibilities. Well, there's two ways of rectifying that. Once the focus of the lens is correct at the film plane, the viewfinder should be made to match, and it's made to match by shifting the position of the reflex mirror to shorten or lengthen that light path so that the images are both sharp at the same point. And the alternative is to raise or lower the focus screen, and that's done by putting shims in underneath. And in this camera you can see shims at the four corners. That's where shims have been used to raise the height of that, or adjust the height of the focus screen relative to that light path. So I'll get that task out of the way. Alright, well that focus looked good. I've set that to infinity and it looks like a good match in the finder and at the film plane. Here's our front ring, focusing ring, and as I'd said earlier, this is held in place with three small screws from the outside. I'm making sure those are all backed off. I think from memory we only had to disturb two and the ring came off. Now this cutout here, that allows that ring to rotate around this point here. That forms a stop, so that when the ring is rotated till the line's at infinity, which is all is clockwise in this case, that cutout should line up with that stop, so I know that that's there, and I'm making sure that when I bring that round to that stop I'm not disturbing the lens. And we've got three screws which just need to be snugged up. That allows us to move through our focus range. There's a trim ring that goes around here that has our focus scale on it. I'm making sure that that's clean. It's held in with 2 screws. I'm just giving that a quick wipe in case there's any grease or dirt under it, but it looks very clean. Putting it on the right way. There's our infinity position. Let's get this into position. Let's scale. Where's our holes? There are 2 holes there where the end of the scale are fixed. So let's get that into place. 2 small chrome screws. Make sure I've got the right ones. Just run that one in. Now I can see from the mark where the screw head would previously been tightened up, so we'll try it in that position. Now I'm bringing the focus ring out to the forward to a close focusing position here to give us room to get to the screws that hold this focus scale ring in place. And I'll check that that band is pulled round snug. Run those 2 screws up and check that that revolves around smoothly, and it does. So this, I'll remove the film advance lever now. Now we can put the top back on the camera. This piece was a snug fit and took some wriggling to get off. It'll probably take some wriggling again. That's it, it's off. Once around the exposure counter, just to lift all the dust and dirt off that. Have a look at my top cover, see how good or bad it is. I've already checked this exposure meter and it appears to me that the movement is gone, that there's no life in the movement at all. I'm checking the window here for the frame counter and I'm going to clean that. It's just dusty. It's just a thin bit of plastic. I wouldn't be at all surprised if that plastic hasn't yellowed over with age, and it may never come particularly clean. I'm just cleaning the inside. Don't scrub too hard at plastic. It's very prone to scratch easily. You attempt to clean it too well and you'll end up making much more of a mess than you started off with. I'm not going to dig into the flash since I already know that that's a dud. Here's our top cover. We can swing that into place. Just got to swing these strap connectors out of the way. Now you have to pull the cover over from the front. It's because of this selenium cell there, it sort of sticks out. If we pull it on from the front, we should be okay. Yeah, something wrong in this picture. No shutter release. The shutter release button drops in here. That faces the front, stops it rotating. Now, It's catching on what? That's that selenium cell, I think. That's it. That's down into place. There were 2 screws. One at the end. I haven't got the base plate on this camera yet, I see, but that's, we've got to put that clip on there. The other screw was in the top cover, and that was in that position. That may or may not fall into place easily. No, it's not. Screws on top covers often have to line up with some raised boss that has been drilled and threaded. So particularly if they're long screws, they are hard to get seated. You have to find the boss that they screw to. Alright, that's done. The film advance lever. This is the lever that was a bit stiff to start off with. We'll just give that a little clean, I think. I've got lots of cotton buds here that have only been used for pushing fungus around on lenses, so are otherwise quite clean and certainly good enough for this task. So I'll give everything a quick wipe to remove the grit. Where did that lever go to? There it is. It's hiding. How did it do that? That was quite clever. Couldn't see how it did that. It got between the layers of my paper. Now those dirty marks are actually scuffs right through the metal. That's chrome plated by the looks of it, that lever. So this little piece, that pops on there, and it goes on, even went on fairly easily. That brass bush follows it. The lever pops on there. We have this spring and the retainer, so I'm putting a little bit of lubricant on that spring. Just so it's smooth in its action, not all gritty or scraping. There's a little bit of play in that lever, and that's to give you some standoff so that you can park the film advance against the body, or you can stand it off, ready to get your thumb behind. Checking that that's tight, checking that that's screwed down. That's good. The rewind knob. Here I've got a little spacer ring. That was on here, and it was used just to bring up the height of that rewind knob to stop it scraping. Sometimes little adjustment shims like that are needed sometimes just to fix up minor tolerance problems. That's our top cover. Our focus scale is all in place at the front. Now at the bottom of the camera, here we should have a clip. I'm looking for it. I've found a clip. It pops on here. We've got to get it seated in its groove. The clips like this have often been ill-treated, so they don't always pop neatly into place. Let's just see what I can push that with. I think that's good. Is that seated? That's seated. Okay. You can see the action of that part there. You can see that there's a lot of play in the action here, and that's required. It's not worn out. So I'll check the position of all these screws down here now, make sure nothing is loose. That all looks good, particularly the tripod socket because they're often loose. That's good. So the base plate of the camera is here. That pops on there, and we're down to the last two screws. Chrome plated, countersunk, or flathead, as they're known in some parts of the world. Well, there you have it. It's all over now, bar the shouting. I've got to glue down the leatherette here, but there's hardly any of that to do, so that's going to be very easy indeed. So I'll find my adhesive, find a toothpick to spread it under there, and get that lot settled. Well, it's nearly the end of the day here and the light is starting to fade. Let's get this leatherette stuck down neatly at the front. Give the camera a wipe over, breathe a sigh of relief, and get on to something else. Just giving that top a bit of a clean. I'm using some Ronsonol here. Keep it away from the plastic. And I'm just trying to take out some of these marks. Satin chrome is inclined to pick up all manner of dirt. Some of those marks will come out. Some of them will be a permanent feature. But if you don't try, you never find out what will clean away. There's quite a pronounced mark on the back here at the back of the prism housing. It doesn't look like you can fit an accessory shoe there, but possibly you could, and possibly that rubbed it. Some cameras have better chrome than others. The finish on the chrome usually reflects the state of the finish of the underlying metal. So if the metal underneath has not been polished and brought to a smooth finish, you'll never get a smooth chrome coating on it. Right, that'll do me. I'm going to wipe under those leatherettes to remove any grease from there, the loose bits of the leatherette, and then we'll glue them back down. So all I need to do there is just make sure I remove any oil so that the adhesive will stick correctly. Now I can tell from looking at the state of the adhesive that's under there that it's something of a similar nature. I can tell by the yellow colour of it that it's probably quite similar to the stuff that I'm about to use. And the stuff I'm about to use, let's put some on a bit of paper. It's quite yellow, as you shall see. ADOS F2, this stuff. Probably only get it around in New Zealand for all I know, possibly Australia. I don't know whether you find it any further afield. So I've got to lift up that leatherette and then apply this. Now I'm applying the adhesive to the leatherette, not the base metal underneath, just the leatherette. And I'm just making sure I've got an even coat on there. Uck. Get threads of the stuff everywhere. And I'll do the same to the other side. Let's move that out the way. So I lift this back and I'm just using a toothpick to pick that up and make sure I've got some coated on that leatherette. Make sure it's running all the way back down there to where it's stuck and all the way to the edge. That's all that's required. So now I can pop this side down. Well, before I was so rudely interrupted by the camera deciding that I'd run out of card space, I was just putting these leatherettes down. I've applied my adhesive. I'll pop that leatherette down. Make sure that it's all neatly applied around that flash contact. Check that there is no loose adhesive around the edges. This side exactly the same deal, except it's simpler. Pop that to one side. That's it. It's no thing of beauty, but at least it functions. Thanks for watching.